Our next presentation is by Dr. Scott Gillingham. Scott completed his DVM here at the University of Guelph. He specializes in poultry and has a commitment to poultry health and management through preventative medicine, disease control, genetic contribution, education, and service. He is a Canadian regional business consult with Aviagen Inc. for Canada, and he's also the author of Raising Amazing Chicks, the First 7 Days, so we are thrilled to have him speaking here today.
Well, it's great to be here. It's good to see that there's an educational component at the university. You know, you see a lot of, oh really? You travel around this country of ours and a lot of the educational, especially in poultry, is diminishing. So I'm happy to see a lot of people here and see the progress, enthusiasm, passion, and Ryan's leading that too. It's fantastic. Poultry club. I didn't remember a poultry club in vet school. And the only person we had was Dr. Julian, who was one of our mentors. And then people in the field. Lloyd is, where's Lloyd? He's probably on the phone, but you know, Lloyd was taking students out and giving a lot of time as well. So great to be here. And I've got to find on my.
I just have
That's what happens when you get older. Okay, let's see how this goes. So what a great segue. Let me see if this is on. Oh, good. What a great segue. I mean, if we had optimal, say, hatchery performance, all the chick yields are there, the evaporates, the egg temps, vent temps, and a perfect quality chick hatched into the farm, and then we have great nutritional formulation, etc. Why are we talking about brooding? I mean, to me, if everything was in place, then we wouldn't have to talk about brooding, but I'll tell you, and from my experiences from traveling from Newfoundland all the way to British Columbia, 2,800 different broiler farms, there's 2,800 different ways of brooding chicks. So we created this acronym called FLAWS, Food, Lighting, Air, Water, Space, and Sanitation, or Food, Lighting, and Air and Water. And that is some of the regime or some of the protocols that I use when I get into barns. Because when we have a quality chick, we got to pay attention to the first 7 days, so no doubt. So here's the birds now. There we go. There's no room for error, and as Doug said, we talk about broilers because there's about 800 million killed in Canada, about 10 billion killed in the United States, and they start at day of age. They're growing 5 grams an hour right now. We're seeing back ends of 120, 140 grams. They're growing over 70 grams on average per day, about 5 grams in the back end per hour. There's no room for error. And the yield in these birds is just ridiculous. Wogs of over 75%. A good cow is 62%. There's no room for error anymore. How do we manage this bird 24/7? We can't just walk through a barn and expect them to walk out. These birds are living, eating in that environment 24 hours a day. How are you going to manage that bird today? Because there's no room for error. You can't put 87% octane in a portion. You got to be looking at 91, 94, and that comes through our ability to try to get things done. Jean-Pierre Reincourt was at the university, and he initiated a lot of the progress we saw in poultry research when he was here. But you look at a broiler chicken, let's say 40 grams started, an infant is 3.2 kgs, except my grandson, his father, was 7 feet tall. And you look at 8 weeks, that chicken is 2.86 kilos in a state. That's 70 times initial weight. That bird equivalent to a child of 222 kgs. So, and then in turkey, you're looking at almost a ton. Incredible growth rate that we're seeing. And the relationship between brooding as a percentage of kill, well, seeing 28-day-old birds killed at 1.8 kilos. I mean, that's almost 40% well, 40% if you look at 21 days in the incubator. When you look at an incubator start conception, I mean, that's 40% of the time of the bird is in the embryo stage. We have to pay attention to it. And then, of course, in the first 7 days, as a percentage of kill, 10 days, it's higher and higher percent. Stockmanship, this is probably the biggest factor that I use when I go in barns. And the tool that I use is a 5-gallon bucket. I turn it upside down, sit on it, and I watch the behavior of the birds. The birds will tell you everything. And our senses gives us the ability to look at what's going on in the environment. Our sight, the taste, the touch, the smell, the hearing. If I go into a day-old placement and the chicks are really quiet, something is concerning me. If they're running around noisy and frantic, something's concerning me. If I go in a barn and high ammonia, then something has to be done. So we need to look and use our God-given senses, stockmanship, we call it flock sense, of the ability to see what's going on in the barn. It all starts with a quality chick. As we go through more antibiotic-free, a quality chick becomes important. And to me, what is a quality chick? In vet school, we always learned about disease. We never learned really too much about health. We always looked at disease slides or disease mechanisms, etc. Well, what's a quality chick? We seem to be trained to look at the mortality rather than the quality. When I see 3% mortality, that's high in the first 7 days, but what about the other 97%? We need to pay attention to the life in the barn that is healthy, that we can address. Well, what is a quality chick? Straight beak, clean, heel navels, active and curious, strong legs, clean bed, dry feathers, happy, sounding, chirpy, communicating in their little environment. And of course, I try to sometimes the vitality test. I'll take a chick, turn it upside down, and she'll pop up within a second or 2 seconds. They stay on their back, then that should be concerning as well. So just a simple vitality test you can do. And when I was in Ethiopia talking and other parts of Africa, these are simple tools that could be used in the field. Okay? Observe the flock as a whole. That's why I try to observe the flock. Rather than just running around picking up dead things, observe the flock as a whole. Right? Flock uniformity, how the chicks look on the floor. Is there morbidity going on besides possibly mortality? Incidence of defects should be taken care of in the hatchery, but things can go awry. Incidence of injuries. And of course, mortality smell. You can smell infection. Right? And then communicate to this hatchery. This, in our country called Canada, communication becomes critical. Any challenges, whether it be quality or inequality, communicate with the hatchery. The service is there for your support, and communication is critical. What is the pattern on the floor? Are they bunched up under brooders? Are they crowded in the feedlets and the pens? What does that mean? Are they crowded against the wall or one end of the house? Are they spread out with access to feed and water? Those simple observations when you walk in a barn is your sense, your flock sense, to understand truly what's going on in the pattern on the floor. What is it telling you? And if you see abnormalities, that needs to be addressed. How do we change management for a better environment for the vitality of that chick? We have the proper hatchery processes in place. The quality of the feed is on the floor. And we do have quality feed. So why do things go awry? Are the chicks sluggish? Are they hyperactive? Are they loud or quiet? Are they sneezing? These things need to be detailed. These new barns we see today, and I've seen it in another province, they're airtight. And the brooders are going all night long. What's the CO2? What should it be? And these simple measurements help me define some of the data that could deserve direction and discussion. We go into the barn and take CO2, it's 3,000, 3,500 parts per million. That's fine. You say, well, it's normal. When that barn pulls up at night, what's the CO2? How are the birds' demeanor? Are they lethargic? So there's a lot of things. And this is what I'm really emphasizing now is we cannot manage what we do not measure. We can't just inspect anymore. We can't go in a barn and say the chicks are not but we have to address the issues. Right? Watch the chicks. I did that 18-minute video with Benga at CFO. I get right on the floor. Find out truly when those chicks are placed. What are they visualizing? I'm 1.93 meters or 6'4". How in the heck can I define the environment where those chicks are on the floor? And I literally get down and lie down and look at the nipple lines. Look at what that bird is perceiving. What are the conditions like 10 centimeters above the floor rather than 6.4 feet? And when you get down there, the chicks will run over your hands. They pick at my ring because it's bright. They're showing this normal investigative behavior. They they want to go and seek feed and water, right? Are waterline satellite drinkers in the right height? Is the flock uniform in acquiring feed and water? Are there obstacles in drinkers and feeders? Is the feed readily available? You could have the best nutritional regime in the world, but if it's not in the comfort zone, there's no way they're going to eat that wonderful feed. Are the chicks piling into the feedlets, as we said? Is there steady state? What is steady state? That's one thing I look at in a barn when I go in, is are we got a percentage eating, a percentage sleeping, a percentage investigative behavior, a percentage drinking. If they're all huddling, what's going on? So again, good and steady state in the barn. The flaws of brooding, feed. No doubt, probably one of the best, most important areas of good flock starts. When the chicks arrive, their heart and lungs are working, not their gut. And Doug gave a good synopsis of the importance of nutrition on the gut. Their gut's not working. And once they get onto feed and you get peristalsis, gut movement, the yolk is absorbed, normal behavior's going on. Villus and crick ratios increase. But don't assume that the gut's working as soon as they arrive on the farm. They need to get on feed as quickly as possible. Now, how many times 20 years ago or 30 years ago when they started, they have to have water first. They have to have water first. Feed wasn't even put down. They have to have water first. And that's not the case that I see anymore. I think the chick today needs that choice. If you have a good hatch, and there is good hatches in Canada, and that chick is placed, they need that choice. They might want to rest. And you've seen chicks in a barn resting look like they're dead. They're resting. No different than an infant. And some will want to drink, some will want to eat. Give them that privilege, give them that opportunity, but make sure they have that comfort zone. Where's the comfort zone in this room right now? It's cool in different areas. Where's the comfort zone in the chicken barn when you place chicks? Right? We need to get them processed and feed as quickly as possible. Why? And it was touched on. Yolk is utilized. That's all that wonderful money that's put into the breeder program called maternal antibodies. It's there for a reason. It's in the yolk, we want to get it absorbed. Crick formulation of villus, that's just good gut function. Immune system, boys, is that important today with antibiotic reduction? Improved growth, marketing age, and breast meat, and everything else. And we talked about muscle monopoly, brought up satellite cells. Won't get into the science of satellite cells, but you get that hyperplasia of those the muscle fibers, and satellite cells are there for repair. It's not only pertinent in the last stages of incubation, that Keith can touch on, but also during the first week of life. And again, this was got on feed right away, and look at this intestinal tract here. You won't get that back. What you lose in the first 7 days, you will not get back. You lose 3, 4, 5 points feed conversion in the first 7 days, you won't get that back. And it's absolutely critical. Well, I can't see that too well, eh? Yeah, you can leave a teacher in the barn and leave a chicken behind from the flock before, and you show this slide a lot because they can teach the chicks where the feed and water is. That's impossible. We have almost a clean environment for the chicks that start. We can't have all these silky brooding hens with 10 eggs on them showing everywhere the chicks out eat and drink. You're the mama. You're the mama chicken. So what are you going to portray? What are you going to do in the barn to make that better environment for that chick to get feed and water? And of course, the presentation of feed. We like to see 50 grams of feed. In the book, I threw this down. You want to make sure that the feed is presentable, the right texture. You're not going to feed pellets to a broiler. There's a texture to it. There's a size that's critical for acquisition. You want 50 grams per chick. Not 5, 50. Well, that's a lot of feed, Scott. Well, there's a feed caddy. Also, maybe you need a little bit of elbow grease. But we've got to get the feed to the chicks in an ample amount because that transition to automation is critical. And I've seen those old metal feed pans with 3-inch lips. How in the heck is a chick supposed to get that feed? My 2 or 3-year-old grandchildren, if you put candy on the table, they'd be doing this and getting stressed because they can't find it. And that transition from feed, because they say, well, how much feed should we put down? I don't know. What's the bird telling you? How many people really sat on a 5-gallon bucket and watched the behavior of the bird? They tell you what needs to be done. Just watching your behavior tells you what management changes need for a better environment for their growth. And when you see chicks all around the feed pen is worn out like a speedway, what's that telling you? They can't get feed. And so 50 grams is a start. Say, what is the effective lighting program in Canada, Scott? There's 2,800 different lighting programs. You tell me. Feed them as soon as possible when they arrive on the farm. That's not effective. Well, I put down feed, 5 grams. That transition automation, you will see growth rate to 2 or 3 days and then it plateaus. Have you followed your 7-day daily weights? How many people have done that? It's metrics. It's all about metrics. Well, you can't see those too well. Can you see them back there okay? The slides? Yeah, I think we're going to have to. Unsuitable setup, right? Where is the feed? Where are the chicks? We'll wait for this.
I'm not sure. No. That's for the.
I've traveled a lot. I did some work in Mexico. I've done some work in Central America. Been to Africa. And I don't care where you are or what you do, but behavior of the bird will tell everything that you need to know. And to me, there's no feed in these pans. No feed in these pans. That transition automation is just non-existent. Right? This is filling up. Between the pans, that's flooding the pans. There's a lot of feed there. The only challenge is these tracks were mouse tracks. Chicks went in the barn there. Right? But, flooding these pans, feed between the pans, everything is great except for the environment. Putting feed down, they said put feed down. Well, yeah, but chicks are behaviorals. They will go to one feed pan or multiple feed pans. We're learning more and more in our research. But flooding here and flooding over there, these chicks might only assume feed. And this feed is gone, they're going to go to this feeder. There's nothing there. And so tell me what is conducive. Watch the behavior of the bird. Are they getting enough feed? This was in Belize. That's large particle size. These birds are 14 days and weigh 130 grams. They're sitting in there probably to keep warm. So what's the behavior telling you? Is that chick stressed? We talked about stress. Doug talked about stress. Keith talked about stress. Is that bird stressed? How about this one? Is that more conducive? Yeah. That's like a little party of kids around Halloween back. They're all happy, right? I don't know if you can see this. I won't play it. Maybe you won't play it. Well, this picture here. Okay, we'll go here. So I grew up, this is a feedler. This was some work we did in the United States. And these are these huge feedlers that will do hundreds of birds. And there was one little chick here. And if you don't sit on a 5-gallon bucket watch, you won't understand truly what the stress that bird is going through. So there's the litter, there's the feedlet. You say, well, is ample feed down? Absolutely. Probably high quality, eh, Blake? Good nutritional quality. But that chick can't get in. And you say, well, it's only one chick. That's 1%. Maybe 2, maybe 3. What does that do to flock uniformity? And then you break it down and look what happens. 3 minutes later, these chicks are broken down. Are you observing your chicks in your barn today? And feed is quite critical. Quality feed is there. Quantity needs to be there, but also the acquisition, whereabouts in the barn. Lighting. All I can say in lighting is provision of good light. With our LEDs, we're getting up to what? 50 lux? 60 lux? Unbelievable. We're taking lessons away from turkey people who dead birds need light. But the intensity, what is your intensity? How many here carry light intensity meters? And then it's reduced by 30%. 30% of what? Is 25 too stressful in birds? But one thing for sure, starting day-old chicks, we need intensity. And I know with the old 100 watt, you might get 1.5, not even 0.8 foot candle, but we need the intensity. Those chicks need the intensity today. These are Porsches that need 84% octane gas, not 87. They need full attention to detail. Light is critical. And then on those traveling, the colonies out west, Christmas tree lights, etc., that they can droop along the feed lines, etc. There's multiple ways, and manufacturers are looking at ways to have more intensity where the chicks need to be. And what's going down there? What is it like at the level of the pulse of the chicks? But intensity is critical. And these are more open-sided housing with natural light. Air. What is air? And I'm serious about new barns being tight without a variable fan spinning. Is your burners burning clean? What is your CO2 levels? It would say carbon dioxide at 3,000. You take it, 3,500, 2,500, 3,000, but it should be 6,000. Carbon monoxide critical, ammonia, if you smell it, things need to be done. We don't usually see that in Canada initially, or have in the States, especially when the heat's put in the barn. And relative humidity, it's 15% in Alberta. What's the humidity in BC at the shore? Maybe 65, 70. What's the humidity here? Warm floor drain brooding, heating source is critical, good air quality, no temperature fluctuations, we need uniformity in the barn, no drafts. I'll use a Bic lighter, and if the flame is at the chick level and that flame is bouncing around, there's a draft. Chicks do not do well with draft. A Bic lighter, just don't burn the barn down. And no environmental stresses, right? Why? Well, as air temperature goes down, the chick's body temperature goes down, they spend more time huddling, right? Digestive system's impaired, immune system's impaired, and the delayed chicks won't catch up. And simple law of humidity and temperature. With high humidity, increases the apparent temperature, we decrease our barn temps. In Alberta, with low humidity, we would increase our temps. And again, everyone says, what's the magical formula? I don't have one. If I say 92 in Alberta and the birds do well, then I'm public enemy number one. What's the chick telling you? And without getting into the barn, having your fingers on the pulse or your MBA degree managed by being around, how are we going to know? And the heat source, cold pots in Africa. You say, well, they're cold, it's all the principles are the same. Where's the comfort zone there? I don't care what you have in the heat source. Some countries in the world don't have the availability of the electrical and the gas, etc. But what is it? Brazil, 45-gallon drums burning wood. Where's the comfort zone? It's the heat source, but where is your comfort zone? Where do you draw that line of temperature? When it's on and off, that's where you want to put your satellite drinkers and your feeders. And again, what is the chick telling you? What's going on at this level? Right? A lot of these, as I got a call yesterday, 40,000 BTU brooder. How many chicks should they need? I don't know. I haven't seen these. Maybe more in the turkey production. But how many chicks should be under that brooder? And again, huddling. Is that good? And now thermography, with the FLIR cameras. Where are you going to put your satellite drinkers and feeders? Right here, where it's 130 degrees? Or are you going to put it out here where it's too cold? Birds can't regulate their temperature, right? And here with a lot of tube heaters we have today, burner end, exhaust end, burner end, and we do partial house brooding. Where's the comfort zone? What's the chick telling you? And I use a simple one in the book, right? You have your brooding chamber, you have your heat source, you have your feeders, your water, and then what I usually do is when the heat source is off, I'll take a temperature. When it's on, I'll take a temperature. Goal's around 92 degrees centigrade. That's where you want to put your source of extra feed and water. And that's the comfort zone, right? And here, environmental conditions, chicks spread evenly, no action required. But what happens if you see this when it's too cold and they're huddling? And you see them in the feed loop. What are you going to do? Where do we need? Do we need to lower this brooder? And here when it's too hot, chicks are panting. Chicks pant, it's too late. And the number one, remember Steve Collett saying 3 causes of pasted bums are overheating. Now we look at salt. No, overheating, right? And this is just simple. And here's our draft. The temperature's too low, they huddle, etc. What are the chicks telling you on the floor, right? And this is another thing. These sensors that are a meter off the floor, and that's what's telling me where the chicks are comfortable. Now that's fine if they're working with the behavior of the bird that is conducive to a comfort zone of eating and drinking. And this is what I see too often, where the sensors might be 30 degrees, but the chick level is too cold. And that's why I like litter pearls. Tabs in the litter. What is the temperature? Where the chicks are. Right? This is the old way. Chicks, I still do that. And then we have pros, but now we have a vent thermometer, a brawn. And we have to change it, of course, when we use them on our children, our grandchildren. But there's an ideal temperature. Optimal performance is right here. If it's too hot, you're going to panic. It's too late. You'll burn all that beautiful feed in order to try to keep cool. And they're here, they're going to huddle. And they're going to expend all that wonderful feed. This is optimal. This is where we get maximum performance. This is their thermal comfort zone, right? And water. Someone asked that is water important. You darn right it's important. And how many mLs per chick per nipple should it be in the first 7 days? How many? 60? No. Have you ever seen chicks with wet all down here? 60 mLs is a lot. They need 20 to 30 mLs. What is your lines telling you? Are you measuring them, right? Water quality should be checked routinely. 6 water lines in the barn and all guaranteed. Guaranteed. I guess I should be using this. I'll guarantee that if you check those water lines, it could be anywhere from 20 mLs to 60. And those inconsistencies are not acceptable today when we have little Porsches on the ground. The processors need that uniformity. It's a family effort. Communication is critical. They don't have the quality. I actually took that beer away from that chicken. Those things. But we know, so it's quality, let's hope quality is there. The best way to check quality is give the grower how many growers here? Have you tasted your water? There, give them a cup, open up the water line, taste the water. Well, I don't want to taste it, why not? Taste the water line. E. coli is real. Catch cups, that's not effective, right? Water quality, that's why we have testing services. In Niagara, there's high sulfates. What do? It's tough. Water restriction on feed intake. They don't drink, they won't eat. They don't eat, they don't grow. Gut integrity is diminished. And where should it nipple? These chicks were too tall. Oh, okay. Water line was too low, sorry. Okay? And these chicks that were delivered were too short. Right? It should be at eye level. That's where you get maximum intake, that visual exposure, right at eye level. Right? It's important. And then how much? This is the last slides I want to talk about. In Ethiopia and some of the work I've done abroad, crop fill is the most useful thing that you can do in a chick today. You don't have to have all these fancy tools. If you have them, that's great. You tell me the CO2, the ammonia, the temperature, humidity, that's wonderful in different areas in the barn. But I want to know the crop fill. I want to know the crop fill. I want to know the texture of the crop fill and percentage of crop fill. That is absolutely critical. That is a happy chick. They're in a comfort zone, they're eating and drinking. Size of my thumbnail, light porridge consistency. If it was hard as a pea, that's telling me they're not on water. How important is crop fill? It's everything. And if there's one tool that you could use in a field today is going through a barn in different areas and do crop fill. And I can't, and all that, and this is, I feel repetitive giving this talk, but I want to see crop fill. And then that 2 hours when lying on the ground, I usually come back and I want to see crop fill. That's telling me they're doing something. I don't want to see 20%. And my goal is 100%. Right? And again, this is in the books as well, but full soft rounded chicks found feed and water, full and hard with feed texture, water, and if they're eating litter, you're going to find it too, right? If you have ideal temperatures, crop fill will be there. That's called the comfort zone. And that guy's crop was so big he had arrested on the side of the feeder, right? So I'm over there. But brooding chicks is not hard. It's spending time. It's getting in the barns. And I've seen too often where people will go in the barns with a 5-gallon bucket, pick up dead birds, run around the water lines, push them up another centimeter without watching the behavior of the birds. We got to put away, pick up that bucket, okay? And we got to put on another management hat calling putting man back into management. We need to walk around the barn and observe the behavior of the birds and make the managerial changes needed for a better environment. And day-old chicks, there's no room for error. There's no room for error. They're not going to catch up. It's not always the hatchery's fault. It's not always the feed mill's fault. It's not always the genetic company's fault. But we've got to spend a lot more time in the barns, especially in this first 7 days, instead of out in our fields or fixing other things. This is where we got to spend the majority of our time. My son came home from the hospital, We didn't throw him in the basement with a loaf of bread and 5 gallons of peanut butter. Gave him on his own in the proper environment, and then he became a professional basketball player. Not saying that was the reason why, but that's what they, and then please, I'm not making an analogy with people and chickens. They're still chickens. But every neonate needs that start, and you put on your mama chicken hat. And I mean that, the women tend to do a better job in the bar than the men, right? So, anyhow. Oh yeah, you're one.
We have time for 1 or 2 quick questions for Scott.
I'm gonna leave the book with your club.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if there are no questions, we will break for coffee. We're going to try and get back on time, so let's try and meet around 11 o'clock.